Yo, what is up, everybody? I hope I have everything. We're going live with the podcast tonight, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Reliable Trades podcast. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you listen to this on the audio, please leave a review. It helps the podcast get out to more people. And yeah, I'm your host, Adrian Garcia, 18 years in the field, doing HVAC, business owner here in South Texas. And we have a guest tonight, and we're doing this. This is a live show, so we'll take questions from the chat, which I expect to come in. I know we started a little bit early, but before we get into it, I'm gonna hand it over to our sponsor segment so we can get that out first, and then we'll get into the conversation. It's not that button, it's this one. I also want to thank our new sponsors, CallRail. So I've been more into marketing and just online presence with our business. Even though we only do commercial, word of mouth is really good for any business. But once you get to a place where you want to be, a big name online or just anywhere, be recognizable, like I said, online presence, have a nice website, be able to be searchable in Google and all these different search engines, and just have a big presence. You need to know where to spend your money, and all I'm going to say is that CallRail can help you track that if that's something that you're interested in. CallRail can tell you, hey, these are not working so much, these are working really good, stop spending your money here, put more money and effort into this, and just be smarter about what you spend. So make sure you go by callrail.com. They do have a no risk free trial, and you can check it out for yourself. And when you're doing your day-to-day work, you got to make bids, you got to do those quotes. I think one of the things that we have to deal with now is finding and pricing out parts. And that's why I wanted to tell you guys about We Supply Trades. They are a family owned online distributor with over 90 years of experience in HVAC, hydronics, and the plumbing world. And if you need parts quickly, they have a massive inventory, which I've been told they've been adding to weekly. You can order by 3:30 p.m. Eastern and get it shipped same day. They have their pro membership, which is not only free, but you also get the benefit of better pricing, free shipping over $99, free returns. And for my listeners, you get a bonus of 15% off your first order with code RELIABLE15. And if you're looking for a supplier who truly understands your world, please go check out WeSupplyTrades.com. I'll leave my exclusive link down in the description. And these guys just get it. Local HQ is a marketing that is geared towards the trades, proven strategies that get your business more leads. They can help you rank higher on Google and all that you would need. So reach out to them at localhq.com/reliable and mention me or the Reliable Trades podcast and get 2 months of SEO for free. All right, now that the bills are paid, my guest tonight is none other than, I think everybody knows who this is, Bryan Sanders. What is up, man?
What's up, Mr. Adrian and the rest of the crew?
I think you know everybody here in the chat, and they should all know who you are.
They better.
How's it going, man? How's work been? I know, has it been busy for everybody? I'm gonna ask the chat too. Has it been busy for everybody? Has it been busy for you this year? I feel like it's just been one of those years.
It kind of started off a little slow at the beginning of summer,
Yeah.
and then that first. I know you guys are in a perpetual heat wave down there in South Texas, but here in West Virginia, I think it was maybe like the beginning of July we hit a heat wave, and then it's been pretty much pedal to the metal since then. Few slow
But
days,
like
but
full send, right? Like it just instantly turned when that heat came in.
oh yeah, the humidity turned on, and it was just like all the issues that come along with heat and humidity, you
I've
know,
had a I've
that
had a
sort of thing.
weird I've had a weird year cuz it's obviously been busy, and I don't think we got much of a break. It didn't get super cold this year or anything like that, but it's just been weird problem after problem, which I'll get to, post some stuff eventually. It's been a lot of bad duct falling apart, stuff not installed properly, humidity. We mentioned that right now, and like the systems are cooling, but it still feels uncomfortable, and you got to get in there, and that's where, and I forgot who I had this talk with, but like that's where it's not just like, hey, it's working. It's like, hey, what's wrong with our building, or like, other airflow and stuff like that that you got to take into mind. And that's been the year that I've had. It's like it's not simple capacitor, contactor, or anything like that. It's like, no, we just, it's duct repairs or bad installations and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been what I like to refer to as a big picture kind of year. Not to steal
Oh
anything
yeah.
from Chris Stevens, but yeah, it's trying to get to the root issue of or root issue of the problems. There, I got to spit
Hmm.
out. Um, just like today, I stopped by the supply house and I had to pick up a big order. It's going to be a nighttime job coming up. Customer that heard about us and picked us up, put a drop ceiling in a convenience store, and the ductwork was, your standard metal ductwork, and so the plenum area between the actual ceiling and the drop ceiling, it's running, I don't know, 90, 100 degrees, whatever it is.
Yep.
And they're wondering how come it's raining in the store. And I mean, yeah, as I told my coworker, Ray Charles could see where the trunk lines are for this unit because you can look down the store and you can just see the discolored um, ceiling tiles, which tells you right there
Oh
where the
yeah.
ductwork is. Yeah,
We have
it's gonna be a fun one.
we have some that are we've been pushing maintenance, and it's not, I mean, it's good income. It's good, keeps us busy all year round. Not that we need it this year, but um I get on those roofs, and some of those roofs I'm not on super often, and that's what I made a comment in one of my videos. It's not out yet, but once we started doing maintenance, I'm like, I haven't been up here because sometimes the walk-in freezers and coolers have their own, like they're attached to the building, right? So I just get up there, and it's its own thing. I don't get on the rooftop or anything like that. And yeah, sometimes I get on these roofs and you see all these rust stains, right? The curbs are all going to crap because it's overfilling inside. They don't notice it till like it rains inside, like you said, or they have issues in the ceiling. And I've had a
It's
lot
not a
of,
problem until it's a problem.
until it's a
It's not
huge
a problem
problem.
until, yeah, exactly, exactly.
And we have some that are growing like full grown forests on the roof too. And I'm like, hey, like while I'm up here, I'm gonna take care of all your all this greenery growing everywhere, and we'll clean it up for you. But that's a part of like the maintenance that we do, is we take care of your rooftop and the trash and anything that ends up there.
Yeah. Well, this same place, that one of the drain pans for the RTU was overflowing,
Yes, Pat, we are live.
and yes, yes, Mr. Nasty McNasty. Um, but it was triple trapped. It wasn't double trapped. It was triple trapped. Somebody decided it was going to be a good idea to come out of the trap that was on the unit, 90 down to the roof, and then run straight PVC. And the roof was, of course, not level. So yeah, I found like two other humps, and I'm like,
Mm,
well, it's no wonder it's overflowing. It can't drain. It's double, triple trapped. You know. So I just cut that out, and the unit is draining beside the RTU, and they've not
yeah,
complained about it leaking since then.
yeah, the P traps. We have a bunch, and people always give me crap for it in the videos, like, oh, how come the drain is like that, or why is it this and that? I'm like, I didn't install it. I didn't put it in there. If I get called up there, I'll be able to fix it if I have a ticket, or a request. But I was like, I'm not the one that put it in there. There's in the two major restaurants that we take care of. They're big chains, right? So they give us each like 18 to 20 stores throughout the valley here. We cover a big area and we get a ton of stores. And that's because one of them doesn't even give us all of their stores because literally have like three in each city. It's like different owners, and every single one of those, none of the units have P traps. So I've gone every now and then and actually put one in when I can add it to the ticket, and it's like, sometimes they drain, sometimes they don't. They back up, and um, it's just one of those things. There's all these little things that you need to, like I said, keep in mind because there's some situations where you can get away with, oh, just add refrigerant or change a contactor or capacitor and you're good. And there's other instances where you got to know how to run that drain, positive, negative side of the unit, how long is a run, all this other stuff. And the airflow is a whole other thing too. I can't tell you because I take for granted that these installers are more equipped to install than I am because I'm a service tech. But I go out there and I'm mind blown because there's no hanging strap, there's nothing secured, there's no mastic. Everything's just like kind of taped up together, and all that falls apart. Like right now, I'm going around just redoing a lot of duct because it wasn't installed properly. And the apprentices are learning a lot right now. They've been running and gunning.
And that's good. That's good. It's not good. I mean, it is for you for the pocketbook. It's not good for you because that's extra time. It's like a
It's
double-edged
not what I
sword.
signed up
But
for.
right, right. But as you know, we take what we're given. But I just like a lot of these. You were talking about corporate chains. A lot of them, you can only work on the piece of equipment that
Yes.
the call is in for. So, I mean, honestly, with me, I still look at the stuff. I don't, try to fix it or anything like that, but I make mental note. This unit has a squeaky belt. This unit, just stuff you hear. You're using
Mm-hmm.
your senses, and I let the customer know, hey, if you want to put a call in, because we're only allowed to work on what you guys put the call in. You want to put the call in, I'll be happy to fix that. So if they do, it gets fixed. If not, I just keep it in the back of my head. I have a notebook, I write down and just go
Yeah.
about the next call.
Yeah, and I started detailing my notes a little bit more, like even on the invoices, or some companies have us check in with like a website, and I'll write it in there, um, just to cover myself. And before, because I've always done commercial, and when I started, I was more like, hey, I want to fix everything that I come across. Hey, I want to like get it to a T, like perfect, right? Like perfect service, perfect repair, perfect install. Hey, I'm on the roof already. I'm going to go ahead and fix all three units that I see that are not working. And I found out real quick that just burned me because they're like, "Hey, we didn't approve that. We didn't ask you to check that. We didn't want this. We don't want that ticket. What's this invoice for?" Right? They fight every invoice. And I was like, like I had to realize like, "Hey, I need a request. I don't work for free, right?" So commercial is a whole other, not to say residential doesn't have these things, but like commercial, you won't get paid like whatsoever on these extra calls that you might find. And it's not an easy sell to the customer because I mentioned to you before we came on, I have so many, and these are huge fast food chains. Like I work for a lot of like well-known brands. I've been telling them years to do maintenance or years to fix this or years to fix that. And it's not like they approve everything just because they have more money. I feel like they're a little more stingy, if anything.
Yeah. Well, it's at first, when I wasn't able to fix everything, I was like, I'm not doing my I'm not
Hmm.
doing a service for the customer. I'm doing them a disservice. But then I'm like, no, because I'm trying to play outside of the guidelines, and that just doesn't work. So,
Yep.
you got to play play by the rules that you're given for, and each customer has a different set of rules. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and I do have like I mean, we all have are all the good technicians, honest technicians, have a conscience, right? So if that compressor is short cycling, more than likely, I mean, depending on the customer too, or you see something like outrageous where it's gonna cause like a big mishap, you might shut it off, or like what I'll do is like a two-stage AC unit. I'll disconnect the compressor that is short cycling. Like, hey, it's gonna run on one compressor, but we'll save that compressor, and if you want to put in a call, I'll come back and see what's wrong with it. I'll do things like that. It's just like we're saying, like you can't fix everything, and I had to realize that, and it, like you said, it just bugged me so much because I want to fix everything, and I'm still like that because I hate selling. Um, I had a comment on walking evaporator, and it's a new guy, so there was nothing much to it. He just said, "Do you replace it in that instance? Like if it leaks on the end, like on one of the U bends?" Because I showed like a crack on it. I was like, "Nah." I was like, "I'll repair it. I can repair that. I'll repair that all day." But I have to tell the customer like, "Hey, I found it. I found the leak. This should be your only leak. I can patch it, but who's to say like the other U bends won't start leaking, or something else will happen?" But it's their choice. I just prefer to fix it.
Yeah, and a lot of times, at least the customers I deal with, you have that NTE amount, not to exceed. But if you run into something like that, such as, walk-ins leaking, and it's one of the returns, a lot of times you take a little bit of time and say, hey, you need to get a hold of so and so, whoever the facilities guy is, or we'll do it from my office. And usually within 20 minutes or whatever, sooner than that sometimes, you'll get that NTE increase, and it'll
Oh
say,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, go ahead and fix it. you know and I'm the same way. As long as it's not in the coil itself, you know we'll fix that. If it's in the coil, I mean, unless it's on the outside,
Oh yeah.
of
Like
outside of the tube.
yeah. It depends on where it's at, because
it,
on those, like I'm pretty confident. I've done a lot of patch repairs, like, and they've all held. So I'm pretty confident in that. So if it's like on the U bend and we go through the whole thing and it's only that one, maybe two leaking, then it's like, okay, cool. We're good to repair. If it's inside somewhere, then I usually recommend like we should get a new coil at least, or if it's like super old, you might want to consider a whole new system. It might be cheaper that way. So
yeah,
we do.
well, it's
I've done a lot of U bends, and then like on the TXV, the distributors, I've repaired a bunch of those. I know some people are scared to patch those. I'm like, I've patched them with very good success as well. It's just I don't know. I like to be challenged. I'll try and fix it first.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the cap tubes, it's just about, heat. You can't go in there full bore, because you'll just burn right through that copper. So you kind of got to be more,
Yeah.
you got to pay a little bit more attention to your heat. But I mean, here where I work out now, I've not had to do any coil repairs.
Hmm.
Um, the best one that I ever done was on a 20-ton train. I mean, the evaporator coil on it was going to be like 14,000 or something like that.
I got quoted something
And
ridiculous for like a Lennox, or I think it was a Lennox or a York, and
yeah,
I was like, no, we'll fix it.
yeah, it was, first stage was completely flat. And I ended up, just, using nitrogen and using my ultrasonic. I think I found like four four leaks where the U-bend goes. You've got the brackets on the outside of the evaporators, and the U-bends go inside of those. They were
Oh yeah.
right there where they had rubbed. So I just used my Milwaukee cutoff and cut those out. And I mean, I was able to fix it. It wasn't pretty. I didn't burn through the copper. It held pressure, and it's still operating to this day. So it
That's
was a
awesome.
lot better doing that Yeah, it was a lot better than doing that than go $14,000 having to rent a crane to, get that out and everything else like that.
Yeah, man, I got quoted because we had a new customer, and I was like, I'm sorry, but this coil is like even to me, like to give them the option, I was like, this is way too expensive. Um, but they were due for some new systems, so it's like a patch, and then like okay, we'll replace it soon after. So you got to know. I mean, that comes with experience because you mentioned the cap tubes and all that kind of stuff. I think I had really good experience when I started. That's probably what got me up to par. And then my dad kind of threw me out there because he's like, I need you to be the guy. He didn't want to hire or keep a full time like contractor with us because it was just going to be me and him. But I have to get or I had to work or learn from somebody at the beginning. And I did have a really good mentor that taught me all the little tips and tricks to get around things. And uh, I remember working on a lot of true systems, right? All the cap tubes they plug up, and you replace those. Those are a pain in the ass to replace. I've even done repairs where I learned how to, cut some of it back, put it back, and solder it in. It's kind of like a temporary repair, but sometimes they turn out to be permanent repairs. And I had a lot of that kind of experience, and then tight kitchens and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, now it's like anything that I get now is like super simple to me. So all of that hard stuff I got at the beginning.
Yeah. And I mean, that just makes you a better technician. It's like, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago, I didn't really hit a wall, but I was like, stuff is giving me a lot harder of a time than it should.
Mm,
So I sat down and looked at, where am I deficient at? And it was, wiring diagrams. And so my ADH brain set me off down the rabbit holes, and I'm getting a lot better at reading wiring diagrams and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm still not there, but they don't give me as much anxiety as they used to be,
yeah,
but
like I had that leg up from trade school. So that was one of my strengths was wiring diagrams and knowing how to go through the manuals and that was my strength. So I played to it very well and I got through a lot like that and like I said I had a guy that helped me with like doing certain things, not everything's by the book, but he was very like if this happens you can do this or you can try this and it should get you over the weekend, stuff like that, which was great. I still use some of those tips. And my weakness was always the electrical side. So I would get confused sometimes tracing wires, especially when we started seeing boards, and I'm like, I don't know, I would just get overwhelmed, and I want to like fix things right away, or I want to do something right away. I don't want to sit there and like trying to figure it out. So that was also my thing was like, trying to learn again. And because I would always see like real simple things and then I would get thrown into something like what are those? The Linux where it's like you get like three or four compressors and you get all these wiring harnesses, all these boards, and I was like, I've never seen this before. And that was that was a true test because that was some company just cut all the wires and I had to sit there and really go through every single wire to get it wired back up correctly. Took me a few days. It took me, I don't know, like a whole week at that location just trying to fix a couple of RTUs and a couple of like walk-ins. But it felt good afterwards. It just took a little bit longer than I wanted.
yeah. And Linux, I mean, I like Linux equipment. Some people don't. I don't have a problem with it, but I will say I really wish Linux's wiring diagrams were a lot better. Uh, because they have, it looks like arrows. You follow the wire and then it comes to arrows. And for the longest time, because I didn't ask, I was being, you know, ego getting in the way, but
Yeah.
that's where a Molex plug is. And I was just
Mm.
like, what is this? What is this supposed to? And then I called. luckily, the guys I work with, a lot of them are really good at electrical. So I called him up and he's like, yeah, he said Linux is a hard one to read because they have all those arrows where Molex plugs are, and this means
Hmm.
something, this other thing means something, but yeah,
I
you
just had to
figure it
work
out.
on some Aeon units. And I was like, this is over engineered for a little fast food chain. But I had to go through the wiring diagram and kind of figure out what everything does, because that stuff has a lot. And I've never seen an Aeon unit. I've only seen Matt Waxer when he works on his on social media. So I was like, man, I might have to call the doctor on this one.
Yeah.
Froggy, I cooked my noggin overheated to stupid the other day. HP high pressure transducer got me confused. Realized to slow down a little bit. I do have a, and like you said, sometimes you run into a wall. I had that recently, but I think I was just like in I was trying to go too fast recently, just because call after call after call. And I've said this before, like we hired two people and another helper, but the helper went back to school already. So we hired two other guys, and I feel like I haven't slowed down. It's been that crazy of a year. Like they're running jobs. Like that new guy already has a van and he's taking the apprentice with him, and they're doing a lot of like heavy lifting and all these just quick calls. If they need us, then we go in. But like we haven't slowed down. So the other day, like calls were piling up, right? So I haven't done reach-ins in a while, and I think I even asked you about one that had moisture problems, like a overfilling drain. And I my mind just like went blank. I was like, because it was for a buddy as well, and I told my girlfriend, if it's ever, I'm always afraid when it's family and friends. I feel like it always goes wrong. I've had that experience. I don't know about anybody else, but um, I had to
It's a
go
cluster.
back. I had to go back several times because I just didn't get it right. And this last time I went out there, so that there was one that, like you said, was the gasket. It was the doors. But when I got there, she gave me like three of them to check, and I'm like, like you're messing with my head right now, because I don't want to, like, I didn't want to focus on. I can't focus on one. I'm there like going between all three of them, trying to get them all going at the same time. That's just how I work, especially when we're busy. So one of them did have that door issue. She hasn't opted to fix it yet. So that one, every now and then it overfills. The other ones were the door switches. So I fixed one door switch. The other one, I think we changed out the temp control because the door switch was working that time. So I got called back, and then she was asking about like warranty. I'm like, yeah, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. I just went ahead and replaced the damn temp controller without even like fully diagnosing it again, because I was like, oh, this thing's out of whack. It was a stupid door switch. And I was so mad at myself because I spent like an hour recalibrating like a mechanical universal replacement. And I was like, dude, that was my sign to slow down, because I was like, I all I had to do was fix the door switch. And that was her problem, because she said it wasn't temping because the fan never came on. But it
Right.
happens.
Well, I had one brand new Bever unit, and it was from last week. It was one of the calls that I had to hit when I was out of town, and brand new unit.
Eddie's like, when
They
I
had
see an
an
Aeon, I just change. I'm just there changing the filters.
yeah,
That's
that's
easy. No,
that
that, and
makes oh yeah,
they didn't even do their job. That was one of the things. I had to take out all the plugged up filters, because they have a filter company that comes out and does that. I don't get to do that. So I'm like, all right, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I was like, you might want to tell your filter company that they haven't been changing the filters.
well, it's like it's funny you say that. One of our bigger customers, they they were looking to replace a couple of units, and they asked for me to do an audit of their equipment up top. And that was the first thing I asked them, whose changes your filters? So we have such and such a company.
Mm-hmm.
And from my previous job I worked at, this same company was one of the ones that changed the filters. And I went up there, none of them were dated. They were like black, like so dirty and stuff. So I'm like, man, I can attach up to 10 pictures
Yeah,
to my
I
work order.
I
So
take a
I
bunch
just
of
took
them.
pictures. Yeah, I took a bunch of pictures. I added the 10 best ones to the work order, and I just told them, I'm like, guys, I don't know what they're charging you. I
Uh,
don't care what they're charging you, but I'm just here to say you guys want me to do an audit on your equipment. They're ripping you off because they're not changing these filters. There's no way these filters were just changed 4 months ago.
and I have the same problem because those and they do come. I don't know how often. I don't ask, but like I don't know if they're not coming often enough or they skip sometimes or what happens because they're like a lot of times I go for something and I'm like the unit's working, but maybe the airflow's not right and you start checking it and it's like, oh, a plugged up filter. So one of those big chains has a filter company that comes out because they're on the roof. The other chain that I work a lot at does their own filters because they change them in the drop ceiling. And it's funny because every time I get there to one location, or there's a couple, and they're like, "Oh, it feels kind of stuffy in here," and they see me get the ladder, they're like, "Oh," they're like, "Yeah, we didn't change it. Sorry." So
Yeah.
that's a
Well, like
that's a common one.
that call you were talking about the changing out the temp controller. They had unplugged this unit. It was like a 5-month-old unit and put it over in another building. And I plugged it in, watched it come down to temp, and man, I was this close from just closing the call out. But I'm like, no, I'll be over here. I got one more day up here. And I'm glad I did because I come back the next day. It was in defrost. Come out of defrost and watched it, and it never got below 46 degrees. And I'm like, it's a freezer. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, man, something's not going right here. Top mounted condenser, took the evaporator cover off. The evaporator was a sheet of ice. I got digging around. Brand new unit. I was the first person that ever been into this unit. And the wires, one of the wires that hooks up to the defrost heater, because it's a small evaporator and it does the drain pan and the evaporator, one of the wires had pulled completely off. So it was going into defrost, but there was no heat being provided. So,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
yeah.
You got to get in there because and I know technicians because I've been working behind a few of them recently. They go in and do something just to get a ticket written up and then they bounce. Because I had one that was working on a freezer and oh, funny enough, I was there the other day actually. So he worked on the freezer that I'm pretty sure just had a bad drain. I think because we did work on it and I was worried about the pitch, but it was because we were retrofitting it and kind of trying to make that existing drain line work. I was like, we might have to run a whole new drain, drill out a new hole like for it. Like we'd have to do a bunch of other stuff. We just hadn't done it yet, and I wasn't aware that I had started to ice up a little bit. And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's because I get iced up on one side, but they wanted to get a second opinion." So this guy was there, and he opened up like everything, and he's messed with these before. Like whenever he comes in, starts messing with the TXV and all this stuff, and I'm like, what is he doing? And she's like, "Oh, I think it's just a drain issue." So I was like, "All right, let him fix the drain." Um, but I didn't feel good that he had it was a brand new system too. That he had all the condenser open, all the panels inside the evaporator open. I'm like, he's doing something. He's on the phone. He's like, I was just thinking he was trying to find something to charge for or something, but I was like, whatever. I was there the other day because this was like a couple weeks ago, and I hadn't been there, and I was there the other day, and I was like, that walk-in says it's 57 degrees in there. It's a little high, right? Brand new system. And then like at the end of my call, I'm like, it only went down to 42, but I had to turn an eye because that's not my call anymore. They would have to call him back or give us a new request, right? So yeah, I mean, to me, sometimes they leave too early. I know I've joked with like Rich about it. Like On a freezer, you can't wait till, or you can't leave when it's like at 30 or 25 or something. You got to wait till it gets a little bit, you got to take your time. Refrigeration is always more time consuming because you got to wait it out.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing, putting a call on standby, put it on there as return visit.
Oh, I do that
I
a
think a
lot.
lot of
I was like, I'll
guys look,
follow up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, follow up. I think a lot of guys look at that as like, that's bad juju. I don't want to have to come back, but I mean, if you care about the customer, you care about the level
Yeah.
of work you do, sometimes you have to do that because, I mean, I've had one I've had to go back, not as callback, but it's been follow up, 2 or 3 days to get something lined out. But once I spend those 2 or 3 days there, I've have yet to get a callback or, them having another issue with this thing. Um, but a lot of guys just don't want to do that. It's all about the numbers, and I mean, I've been guilty of that, but patience
Yeah.
is a key.
I feel
Yeah,
like if
that's
I
what.
leave too soon, it's a guaranteed callback.
Yeah, most
Yep.
definitely. And when I'm dealing with the freezer, if I see it get down to about 14, 15 degrees and look at how much it's come down,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel good about, you know, I'll put it on follow up, but I feel good about it.
A follow up, or like if you have a good relationship with your customer, you can just even. I've done the calls like, hey, how's that
Hmm.
freezer doing? What temp do you got? Is everything frozen? Or even if it's a cooler, like is everything to temp? Um, just to be sure because yeah, like when it's at 20, I've had so many that get stuck at like 20 or something, and it's like something weird going on. So I like to see it 15, 14, 12, something like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. We can like you said, either write a follow up for it or just tell the customer, hey, if you have any other issues, please call me immediately.
Yeah, and you can look at your pressures and temperatures and stuff like that. There's always going to be that pattern. And if you see that pattern staying consistent, then you can kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna still do a follow up, but I'm pretty confident this
Confident.
is
Yeah.
going to come down. Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's funny. So remind me, did you always do commercial or did you do any residential before
No, I've been straight commercial.
by choice?
Yes, by choice. Yeah.
So I've had,
I don't want to be an addict.
no, man, it's been hot. We have 105 to 108 consistently now. And I'm like, I'm tired. I get a little like lightheaded. I'm taking my constant breaks, right, to get out of the sun. Like it's crazy right now. Um, I want to say there's been people that made the news because of like heat exhaustion and all this stuff. Because right now, I think there's a lot of the country that is dealing with heat waves. So you got to be careful. And hats off to the guys that do residential because I can be on a rooftop all day long as I stay covered. But I wouldn't want to be in an attic all day.
No, me neither. And I mean, heat exhaustion, that is nothing to mess with. I did like 14 years in the oil field, and
Mm,
I've had heat exhaustion twice,
I feel
so
like I've
I
been
know
close.
what it feels like.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
try to
mean,
take my breaks.
yeah, I do too. I mean, when you're working and you don't know where you're at, and it just feels like the wall is closing in on you, at that point you're too far gone, and
Hmm.
you know you need to get out of it. But yeah, that's why I never did resi. Never.
Well, I've had a lot of questions for people asking like how to or what is it like to get into the refrigeration side, like from AC. I feel like I try to harp on like it's all the same, right? If you know the refrigeration cycle, you can kind of get yourself out of a bind for most things. But like there's a few things, right? Like I know on the residential side, I mean, I think people are better about it now with all the newer systems, like checking their superheat, their subcool, static, like everything that they need to on a residential system. On a commercial, like walk-in cooler, walk-in freezer, I do emphasize, right? Think of temperature, not pressure. Think of saturation temperatures. What is that? I always give my guys a crash course because we have new guys now, and it's like you want to think about like the evap temp, right? Like, and I tell them there's a differential and think about it that way, and always check your superheat. That is one thing that second opinion guy, he went in and replaced the TXV and then left, right? He's like, oh, it was bad. We replaced it. I got called back in and they were like, please, it's not temping. It's stuck at 20, this and that. I just had to set the superheat because they do have a bad infiltration on the door. So we had to compensate a little bit. And I was like, I need to dial it in because it was like way off. I can't remember if it was flooding or starving, but I had to get it to that, little sweet spot of 6 to 8. And then like it dropped like nothing. I was like, there you go. This guy just wanted to dip out. And there's a few things. That's why I tell my guys, like, there's a few important parts to it, but it's not that hard. You just got to slow down sometimes.
Yeah, it's like you said, saturation in refrigeration compared to AC, it's saturation. Don't. I've told we had a new guy. He no longer works for us, but I told him he'd call and he'd say my pressures are such and such, and I'm
I
like,
would get so mad when that,
I
yeah.
I finally told him, I said, listen, if you're gonna call me about a question, I'll teach you everything I know. But do not call me and tell me what your pressure is of a refrigeration system. I said, because if you do, I'm gonna hang up on you because I don't want to know pressures. Pressures are only relevant to what the temperature is outside. It's not going to that's not an important factor. What is your evaporation? What's your evaporated saturation? What's your condenser saturation temperature? Um, you know,
And that
you,
evap
you,
temp difference, right? For what kind of, like, are you working on a freezer or cooler? Like all these little
yeah, your
things.
TD. Yeah,
Yeah.
your TDs. In residential AC, I think it's delta T, but we're doing temperature differential. Um, if you're coming from residential, y'all have there's those list of variables that you always have those variables. They're different in commercial refrigeration and commercial AC than they are in residential, but you still have those. But if you've got the refrigeration cycle down pat, you've got 60% of it whipped,
Hmm.
and the rest of it. And I think you were the one that said that you had issues with like your low pressure safeties and your high pressure safeties and stuff like that until you just looked at them. They're switches. They're
That
either
that
good,
yes. And that took
they're
me a
either
long
good
time.
or they're bad.
It took me a long time to realize in the beginning, like I said, I had trouble with, some of the electrical part of it, and I'm like, what are all these things? What are all these safeties? What are all these pressure controls? They're just switches. Like they react to either temperature or pressure, and they go on and off. For the most part, at its most like basic level, like they either, and that's what I tell people when I work with them. Like it's either open or closed, and you need to know if it's a normally open switch or a normally closed switch. Though that's when you get into like some of the differences. It's like the safeties and the pressure controls. And on refrigeration, a pressure control is not necessarily a safety. It can be how it, because I have a bunch of make lines that run off a low pressure control, and that's their temp control,
Mhm.
right? That's another thing to keep in mind,
Yep.
is that a lot of these pressure controls is how that system runs. It's not a safety. That's that it needs it to run, right? So pump
Yep.
downs and stuff like that too.
Yeah. We have a make line in one of our restaurants that's what it's old school. And its temperature control is its low pressure, shut off. And, I mean, it's worked for years like that. Um, I just find it takes a little bit to get it dialed in, but
Hmm.
it's really not that bad. But
And that's another
something, and
that's another thing, right? Is
go
like
ahead.
when you do startups and stuff, I like to see that pressure switch is going to react the way I want it to, because a lot of times you do have to adjust them, because like you could be anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world and it's going to be different. I know Matt has he's talking about winter and low pressure controls, and that it's almost that season for him, because if you're in an area that deals with low ambient, right, you have a different set of rules for your controls. Like me, I can bypass some of these, or um, set them a certain way where I'm at. It's going to be different whether you're in Texas or Denver or wherever. So that's another thing is, right. Starting up a walk-in cooler or freezer is not just like turning it on and making sure it's cooling. You got to make sure it cycles and your pressure controls are set right, your temp controls set right, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because if your low pressure safety is not set right, it's the adjustables, not the peanut style, but the adjustables. If they're say your differential's not set right on that, then you could possibly cause that system to short cycle
Yeah.
on and off, on and off, on and off because that refrigerant is boiling off and
Oh yeah.
to vapor and and it may shut off at 6 psi, but then if you watch it for a few minutes, it may
It
go up to
rises.
10, 11, 12 psi, and then that closes that switch. It comes on, it pumps down, and it goes in this perpetual cycle, which eventually is going to tear up your contactors, and eventually is going to cause that compressor to go. I've had enough. I'm done. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had plenty of calls for that kind of stuff too. Like it won't stay in defrost because it keeps trying to turn on, and you're like, oh well, your pressure control's not dialed in right, and you got to stay there. So like when I'm on a call, like for a walk-in freezer, I'm trying to make sure that it pulls down a decent amount, because sometimes if it's busy, you're not going to get that perfect temp. But it pulls down. The defrost, and I check the defrost. That's another thing I check. Are my heater? I force it in defrost. Are my heaters working? Is it pumping down? All that kind of stuff. So that's another big difference, right? Like I said, those are not necessarily safeties. That's how it operates. So when it shuts off or goes into defrost, it's gonna pump down because it closes that solenoid. And when that closes, your pressure goes down, and that's what actually shuts off your system. Because if not, your compressor is just gonna run and run and run without any refrigerant flowing through.
Yeah. Anybody starting out, if they want to be successful, is be habitual in your troubleshooting. If you're troubleshooting a walk-in, one time don't go down to the condenser or the evaporator, the cooler itself or freezer itself. Go up top. Do the same thing over and over again. And then
Hmm.
it becomes second nature. And then, you don't have to think about it. I always start in the box first. Fans, airflow down there. If that's running, but it's not cooling, something going on at the condensing section. But do the same thing over and over again at troubleshooting, and then next thing you know, you're going to it's going to be muscle memory, and
Yeah.
then that's just one less thing you have to think about.
Yeah, like I got some new guys trying to just crash course when I can, when I go to a job site. So like all of these little things that I take for granted, I'm like, oh yeah, look for this or look for that, or even that, because when you start, you don't know. A walk-in cooler, for example, is the fans are continuously on. You do have newer systems where it's like it might be a variable speed. It drops down when it satisfies and it ramps up when it's calling. But for the most part, a cooler has fans that run like forever. A freezer has to cycle off because you don't want it to be blowing, the heat around and all that when it's in defrost. So there's little differences here and there. It's just I'm having to remember these things to give, these little tips to give along to the new guys. And it's like, oh, okay. They're picking it up, they're understanding. And it's just, It's stuff that I take for granted because I've done it so much, and it's like, oh, I didn't think about it. Like if you're just looking at the system the first time, it might be a little bit confusing, but just learn how the system works. That's the one thing to do. Like once I realized freezer works very different from a cooler, I'm like, okay, don't freak out. Right. I tell my customers the same thing. Don't freak out if the fan's off. If it stays off for more than 30 minutes, then call me. It might be in defrost. Right. There's little things like that.
Well, I mean, it's funny you said that because um, I had did a walk-in freezer call. The
Same
issue that I
same
found
same here,
with,
Mike. I get rid of all the low speeds.
oh yeah, same here. Yeah, get
I've
rid of
had
the
so much
red
trouble
wire
with
if it's a Trenton.
those low speeds on certain brands, but I've had trouble with them.
Yeah, if it's we deal mainly in Trentons, and yeah, it's red wire that comes off the power switch. Red wire gets unplugged. I'm like, it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
I don't need low speed.
I don't
But
like it.
going back, I don't either. Um, Going back to what you were saying, about a walk-in freezer, if the fans don't come on in 30 minutes, give us a call. I got called out on a Sunday after I'd changed the defrost times. It was a
Mm,
walk-in freezer, kept freezing up. It's because they only had two 20-minute defrosts for the whole day. So I added two more defrosts at 35 minutes. It quit the icing up problem, but it was a Sunday and I get a call, walk-in freezer's not working. I get there, it's about 20 minutes away from the house. I get there, the box is at 5 degrees, fans are on, everything's
yeah.
working. Yeah, and so I'm like, what the heck? So I went up top, checked everything was fine there. So I got looking because I could see what time the call was put in,
Yeah, I do the
and
same thing.
the call was put in right as it went into its 4 o'clock defrost. And yeah, so I put a post on Instagram about it, but wrote out on a big piece of paper and black marker taped to the walk-in freezer door. If you go in and the fans aren't running, give it 30 minutes. If they're not running after 30 minutes, then give us a call. Thank you, and I put my name there.
Yeah,
Not had a nuisance call since then.
we've had that same situation. So I do the same thing now when I get there and it's I mean, they know better now, but I would always check the time of the clock and see the differential because we have a lot of power outages, so sometimes that messes with the time. And I'm like, oh, it was just in defrost, but I'll make sure it temps right if I get there and it's turning on. But yeah, it's a nuisance call too. That's why I before I let you go because I know you got to go. Before I go or when I get to a system, I like to do a full, like just walk through and look. I don't want to touch anything, open anything, or hook up my gauges. That is the last thing I'm going to do. And I tell my guys the same thing. I tell everybody that watches my channel the same thing. Sometimes I get pushback like you're doing too much. Just work on it. Just hook up your gauges. I'm like, there's a lot you can get on the visual side when you get there. Like in that instance, if you start messing with things and it just was in defrost, you're gonna screw yourself.
Well, you're using your most important tools, your hands, your eyes, your ears, your nose, and your brain. I
Hmm.
mean, those are more important than any wrenches or anything else that you carry in your tool bag.
For sure, man. Um, I do want to maybe end on that note. I'm gonna let you go. I know your kid
Okay.
needs a ride home, but I
Yeah, it
appreciate you
wouldn't hurt
for.
him to walk, but he might squall.
Hey, my parents used to make me walk everywhere, but I don't let my kids do that. I do the same thing, man. I'll go pick them up whenever they need to. Um,
Yes,
appreciate you
sir.
for coming out. Appreciate you for making time for this. I think it's been a great conversation. A lot of guys asked me about the refrigeration side, so it was cool to get to that kind of talk. I feel like we still need to talk more, so maybe another time, man.
Yeah, anytime, brother. I support you, and you need me, you just give me a shout, and I'll be there.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna switch it so I can do the outro, and I'll see you.
All right, see you later. See you guys later.
All right, guys. Brian, I'm gonna let him go. That's why we started a little bit early, and I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm gonna go through the chat really quick. What is up, Mike? I know you had, well, you're the one that said the low speed. Not a big fan of it either, man. I have had a lot of issues with Russell, the Russell brand. Still can't get a definite answer on the low speed issue that I have, so we're just bypassing them for now. Modern Comfort, what's up? I appreciate everybody that came in, and I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. I don't have an outro, but next week, just so you guys know, we do have another live podcast. I'm going to be out of town this week. I'm doing the Milwaukee Pipeline. Some people were asking me what that is. It's like a little trade show that they do by invite only. I'm gonna get to go out there and podcast. So again, appreciate everybody that listens to the podcast, tunes in here on YouTube or on the audio side, because hey, it got me to podcast at the Milwaukee Pipeline. I appreciate all the support. So I'm gonna go actually overnight to fly over there. I'm exhausted. I'm gonna go probably take a nap in a bit, get ready for that. And because of that, I decided this week and next week we're doing a live podcast. So make sure to tune in next week as well. I have another guest and we'll do a live show. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know any better. Our customers were buying Intelligent, and I think they got scared because they had a few bad boards, which I'll take that over the issues I've been having with Russell with the motors and a lot of other things. Sensors always giving out. That's the one that I had the bad transducer out of the box. So I'll take the Heatcraft issues I had over the Russell issues I've had, just to kind of be clear on that. But yeah, next week we'll have a guest. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna film as much as I can, man. It's a cool thing to do. Um, I think Kurt's gonna be out there, HVAC guy. So probably do something out there, and appreciate you guys. I'm gonna sign off. I'll see you guys next week.